And welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's book spoiler live discussion on House of the Dragon Season 2 predictions and beyond. So, in this video, if you haven't read the books and you don't want this entire show spoiled for you, I think you want to leave because we are not going to hold back at all. All three of us has read these lovely little books that go over the events that will happen in the rest of House of the Dragon. So if you have not read them, or maybe you haven't but just don't care, you want to be spoiled, then okay, sure. but if you don't want to be spoiled, yes, huge warning. You might want to skip this one and watch some of the other live discussions we've already done on this great show. So, yes. Let's see. So, let me introduce, of course, our two lovely guests. First, of course, Alyssa from Alyssa Jean Reviews. Alyssa, thanks so much for joining.
Hello, Mark. So excited to be here to talk book spoilers. I've been waiting for this all season long.
And Vala Magulis to Don, sir. Thank you for coming in and imparting some of your book knowledge on this discussion.
Vala Doharis, glad to be back here again and finally be talking books. It's been a while since I've actually got to talk book stuff. It's been all show, so let's do it.
Yes, all show no books make Jax a dull boy. Anyway, I think that's another movie. But anywho, let us go ahead and get into this discussion. Now, before we start, one thing I wanted to bring up. Actually, no, Don, I had a question for you that I kept forgetting to ask that I was really curious about. It's just a minor detail. So throughout this show, they would refer to the king of Westeros as King of the Seven Kingdoms. Was it something ruler of the First Men? And
okay, so it's the Andals, the Roynar, and the First Men.
Yeah. Right. So my question is, Dorne's not a part of the kingdom at this stage, so shouldn't it be the Six Kingdoms, or do they still call it the Seven Kingdoms and just presume? I was a bit confused about that.
Okay.
And isn't the Roynar like explicitly in Dorne as well?
Correct. So basically the whole thing with that was when the Targaryens took over, they were just like, look, Dorne's gonna have to fall eventually. We're just going to call ourselves, kings of the Seven Kingdoms.
Okay.
So that was pretty much what happened with that. And as far as like them actually mentioning the Roynar in the show versus Game of Thrones, well, apparently Game of Thrones, Dan and Dave had no intention of ever going to Dorne, but Dorne just so happened to get popular after season 4 with the whole Mountain and Viper and all that. And since people kept on asking them about Dorne, they were like, all right, fine, we'll put in Dorne, which is why in later seasons you actually get the mention of the King of the Andals going on the First Men, but only like 2 mentions of it. So, yeah.
Oh, is that why the scenes of Dorne sucked?
Yes. They weren't originally planned
because they didn't really want to do it. So,
So I just received a message from Brandon, a loyal supporter, that the chat is not working correctly.
Oh no,
there Brandon is. So it must be working now. Okay. So let me know in the chat if you're having problems with the chat. Just kidding. But hopefully.
I mean, what are you going to do? Honestly, you're not going to be able to fix it. So hopefully it just works.
Yeah, Brandon says it's all good now. So cool. So hopefully, it would be cool to have some.
I was wondering why there's no one in the chat.
Yes. But Brandon, good to see you. Glad the chat finally started working. Hopefully other people aren't having an issue with it. So So Don, so for their in the show House of the Dragon, so they're not being inconsistent with the books by calling them King of the Seven Kingdoms and of the Roynard. They actually did that even though they didn't have Dorne in the kingdom. That's consistent
Correct.
with the books. Okay,
Correct.
I was a bit confused about that. That does seem like the Targaryens to be arrogant like that, so it tracks. All right, so yeah, so let's go ahead. I wanted to jump into some spoiler predictions of what we think is going to happen in season 2, or how we think the show is going to adapt these lovely books. So the first thing I want to talk about is a pretty major event, which I had a slight inkling that it might have happened at the end of season 1, but the logic brain of my side knew that there was definitely not time for it, that they were definitely going to put it off to season 2, and that is the whole blood and cheese thing, the assassins that are hired by Daemon and Mysaria to kill one of Helena's children, which is going to be, I think, it's going to, some people are saying, referring to it as like the Red Wedding of the show, which I can kind of see that. I think it's going to be a very jarring, controversial thing, especially for those who haven't read the books. And I think, I don't know. So I guess I'll open this up to, well, I'll start with some of my thoughts, because I wonder if they're going to have this at the end of episode 1 and the end of episode 2. I think it has to be one or the other, because I don't think they could push this back further, because they got more to get through in season 2. So I think it has to happen fairly soon. And my other thought is, I wonder if Daemon is going to, because the books kind of imply that Rhaenyra was complicit in this, and I wonder if perhaps Daemon's going to do this behind her back, or that pissed off look we saw at the end of season 1 implies that she actually will be involved. So I'll open this up. Thoughts, what you have on this whole thing. Don, I guess we'll start with you.
So I mean, like, I think that Mad Queen look that she had in her eyes. I mean, look, at the end of the day, she is a mother, right? Helena is her little sister, and we all know how the whole thing of kinslaying is looked at in Westeros. So personally, I'm thinking that that's going to be something that Mysaria might wind up doing, not necessarily at the behest of Daemon, but it's going to be like, hey, well, you know what? These guys tried to kill you. They killed my, nephew slash stepson, but grandnephew, whatever slash stepson, and so I think there's going to be a thing where, yeah, the two of them conspire and it's like, hey, you know what? We need to get revenge. But I don't think that Daemon goes as far as telling Mysaria, kill one of the kids. And I don't think that Rhaenyra would actually go for that as well. Because at the end of the day, she still wants to keep Viserys's legacy of peace to a certain extent, but she is pissed off at her other family members. So that is understandable that people would probably think that she would be, part to that, but I don't think she's there yet. I think it would take a couple of more kids before she's like, all right, you know what? Enough is enough. Wipe them out. Do what you got to do. I want them to, to be fearful and et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Long story short, I don't think she's going to be involved. I don't think Daemon is going to explicitly say, pick one of Helena's kids and kill them I think that it's going to be, we need to get revenge. You know you want revenge as well, Massaria. Find a way to get it done.
Alyssa, your thoughts?
Well, the whole thing in the book was a son for a son. I think Damon is going to say a son for a son. So I think he is going to. I don't think he's going to say go kill one of Helena's children. Specifically, just son for a son. Go get us a son. That could include Aegon or Aemon. It could include the kid's son for a son. I think they're going to keep that from the book. So I think Damon is going to explicitly tell her to do that, even if they didn't specifically say which son to go after. And I also don't think that Rhaenyra will be complicit. I think Damon will actually specifically leave her out of it because he will know that she won't be a fan of it. And we may even have a line to that effect. Yeah, Rhaenyra doesn't need to know about this. She may find out later, after the fact, after it's too late. But she'll definitely find out. But the kid died, but she'll find out that Damon was behind it, and she may be upset by it. Alicent is also going to be upset by Aemond killing Lucerys, but each of them are going to have to realize that this is war and they're getting sucked into a really ugly thing, and these things are going to happen. So I don't think Rhaenyra is going to love it when she finds out. I think she will find out and that Damon was behind it, but she's not until after the fact. Like, she definitely, I don't see her being involved in the planning of it, even as angry as she was. I don't see that, but I do see Damon setting it up, and then Rhaenyra finding out later that he did.
Yeah, I tend to side more with Alyssa on this. I think it's totally within Damon's character to do something like this, especially the way the show has portrayed him. And I could see him saying a son for the son thing. And Mysaria, of course, I think is going to be ever too willing to do this because what's his face, Lars tried to kill her, which they haven't revealed in the show yet that she's still alive, but she's still alive. They wouldn't make that big of a change. And I think that's going to be a huge motivation. I am open to the possibility that maybe Damon isn't, like Alyssa, like you said, that Damon isn't specific and just says something vague like a son for a son. But I'd be open to maybe he even isn't that specific and says something more vague like, strike back at them or something. And that killing in the sun was Mysaria's idea. But I tend to side more with Damon's gonna be his idea.
Yeah, I mean, a son for a son was something from the book. It wasn't a chapter name, was it? I don't know, but it's definitely something that was definitely said in the book a few times. A son for a son. So I feel like that's what he's gonna say. But I don't know. If
memory serves me correctly, I believe that was what Blood and Cheese said. But I don't remember if they specifically got that from Damon.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it again. I thought Damon originated that, and Blood and Cheese definitely did say that too. But I thought he originated that, but I could be mistaken. I could be wrong.
Well, the other thing to consider is the unreliable narrators. Maybe the Maesters thought he originated that, but that's just pure guesswork.
Yeah, well, that's the lovely thing about the show is that you can just chalk up a lot of things for unreliable narrator.
Yes. Yeah, but that makes it more interesting to try to see which path the show will choose.
Yeah.
So the other thing about this I wanted to sort of bring up is Helena, because the show has already portrayed her very different than the books, and I'm wondering because she's shown as so they ask her which son she wants to sacrifice. She chooses herself, and of course they refuse. So she chooses her youngest son, and they kill the oldest one instead. And she goes mad and eventually kills herself. I wonder if the show's going to go the same path because she already seems a bit mad. I don't know. And they gave her this weird green saying prophecy ability that she didn't have in the book, so it makes me wonder if they were going to go the same path with her. And the whole thing about beware the beast below the boards is obviously blood and cheese. Like, so there's still people out. Oh, the dragon at the end of season episode 9 was the beast below the boards. Like, no, it wasn't.
Mark, I'm not convinced that the show isn't going to try to say it was the dragon. I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. I think you should be right, but I'm not 100% convinced that that's not what they were trying to do. But it shouldn't be. You're right. It should refer to blood and cheese.
Well, you know what the crazy thing is? Like when it comes to Helena, I think that this is the way not only of making her to have dragon dreams, but also it seems like they could be hinting at her being a little on the spectrum. Um, with the way that she interacts with people just on a regular basis, not even just about the prophecy thing, because again, it's not like we haven't seen other people who have had dragon dreams or any sort of premonitions. So it's not just about her, having the dreams and her being this green seer or dragon dreamer, whatever term you want to use. But this is kind of like when Bran became the three-eyed raven, but he was like, hey, I'm no longer Bran anymore, and that's why I'm acting weird. But before that, when he would have his warging dreams or whatever, he was still regular him. So I think that this is supposed to be their interpretation her of her being on autism spectrum, which is why they kind of have her saying the cryptic stuff, but then otherwise she's still a little awkward with the way that she interacts with people anyway. Um, as far as her going mad and killing herself, I mean, I could see that as well too, because it's almost like the Hodor thing, where if she's been seeing all of this stuff happening, right, and if the whole beast beneath the boards is blood and cheese, then she's been seeing this for a minute, just maybe constantly night by night, or every once in a while she'll get the dreams of, you know, one of her children being killed. And now when you have her finally come face to face with this actual event, it's like, oh man, well, you were hoping that this was just a dream, but nope, it's real. It's right here. And what do you do with that information? Because, this is one dream that you definitely would not want to come true.
Oh no, go ahead, Alyssa.
I'm wondering if they are going to play more on the prophecy of it all, and that being the aspect that drives her mad, rather than maybe they won't even have the thing where she's forced to choose one kid and they kill the other one. Because I even have a hard time imagining her doing that, because she's just so I'm just kind of wondering if it's going to be more of being driven mad by her own prophecies coming true, than what happens in the book. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I could be totally off, but I could see them actually giving that to Alicent, who's also in the book. She's also held captive in the room. That they ask her to choose. I think that would be more consistent with the characters and how they're portrayed in the show.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Okay, so the scenario is then Alicent is with her grandchildren. Blood and Cheese come and is like, hey, pick one of them, a son for a son. She picks the younger one. They kill the oldest one, and then one of them whispers, "Yeah, you hear that? You're I don't even know what's the proper term for grandmother. I know grandsire or whatever, but your grandma wanted wanted you to die, and then they leave, and then Helena goes mad at the thought of, oh, this thing that I saw actually came to pass. And then she winds up killing herself because she's like, you know what? I'm done.
But then
Yeah, and oh, sorry. Let me. I think that the show might play it. So as I said, she's predicted the future. So I think they could play it where she sees the future and sees the death of the dragon, sees everything. Is like, you know what? I don't want to be here for this. Peace out. And kills herself, and that being her motivation for suicide.
yeah. But if they do that for Allison, I mean, that was a really hard thing for Helena to live with. So how does Allison deal with that? I mean, I don't. The more I think about it, the more I think they won't do that, because then that should affect her character greatly. That should change her greatly from how she is in the book.
Actually, I think it could drive her to become more like her book counterpart, because at the moment she's not as ruthless. And that could be the inciting incident that makes her become more ruthless.
Right, because, at the end of the day, she's ultimately going to blame Rhaenyra for it. Period.
But not affected by the fact that the kid who is alive knows that she chose him to die. She won't be affected by that at all?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she would. I mean, but like if it's anything like the books, then that particular child shouldn't be more than 3, which is why in the books Helena chose him to begin with, because it was like, look, you're too young to really understand what's even happening. So
no, you might actually, thinking about it, you might be right, Alyssa, because in the books, Allison took parentage over the younger son, over the children, because Helena was incapable. So maybe they would keep to it so that it would be that way. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still opening it as a possibility, but I don't think
we're getting ruthless Allison. Brandon said that in the chat. I think they intentionally made her this way. If they wanted to be ruthless, she would have already been so. So I don't think that there's going to be something that causes her to be that way. I could be wrong, but I don't see it.
This is what I think of both Allison and Rhaenyra, is that the show wants to do more of a progression, more of a character growth, so that they start them out as being good friends, and then they slowly start to go apart, and then further and further, and they each, or by the end of the story, they're both going to be ruthless. But whereas in the books, they were kind of ruthless to begin with, but I think this show wants to make it more of a journey to get there.
Right, which is part of the reason why I'm thinking that Blood and Cheese actually isn't going to happen until later in the season. Like, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that'll be like first or second episode." Nah, I think they're going to drag it out to like either possibly mid-season or 3/4 through, because for one, they're going to want to shock people who have absolutely no idea that this is coming, right? You're gonna still want to have fallout from Aemon actually killing Luke, right? So I think that episode 1 is going to be the fallout, and it's going to be Allison. What did you do? Aemon at first is going to be like, well, I didn't mean to, but it just happened that way, and there's going to be kind of a little bit of a schism in the Greens, and them trying to coalesce. And then by the time you get to the Blood and Cheese thing, that's going to be the thing that's going to have all of them like, okay, you know what? We're all going no holds barred now, because now this has become way too real.
All right, so the issues I would have with that is I would be worried if they did save it to like episode 5 or 6, that the first 4 episodes would feel like they're spinning its wheels, because it feels like that was a direct response to Jace dying, and not Jace, sorry, I always get them mixed up. Luke dying, and Luke died at the end of season 1. So I feel like they need to address this pretty soon, because it was a direct response to that. If they wait that time they're going to have to either put a lot of stuff out of order and do stuff first before this, which might jank up the story a bit. And plus, I just feel like it needs to be a direct response to Luke's death.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing, Mark. I think that it is a direct response to Luke's death and needs to happen. If it happens later than episode 2, I think they're doing it all wrong. Like I think it should probably be the end of episode 1. End of episode 2 would be okay, but beyond that, then it's kind of losing its power. Like it needs to be a direct response to Luke's death.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand what you're saying, but my only rebuttal to that is you still, because look, the fact that they had Aemond kind of have that wait, that wasn't supposed to happen look on his face. I'm thinking they're going to spend at least 1 to 2 episodes with him trying to reconcile, like, oh, I actually really did just start a war, and B, people coming to terms with the fact that, like, yeah, before this was just kind of, yeah, it was a little bit of violence here and there, but now you've had, 2 members of the royal family go at it, and only one of them came out. And I think before you get to the blood and cheese thing, you're gonna have to have them kind of kind of reconcile with the fact that yes, this just got real in a way that nobody expected. And how do we now even thinking how do we think about moving forward? Because there's going to be okay, can we possibly send a peace envoy? Um, is there any way that this can be explained that it wasn't supposed to happen like that? Is there any way that we can spin it and say, like, oh, actually, Luke was the one that started this, and he died by accident because he went and somehow provoked Aemond? There's gonna be the spin doctoring that needs to happen before, in order for them to be able to pull back and say, you know what, no, to hell with any spin doctoring, to hell with any peace terms. Now you have crossed the line beyond anywhere that it could be crossed. We're done. Now I do think they will set up blood and cheese before that. I think it'll be a thing where Damon, goes to goes to Massaria, and and is like, hey, look, this is what's happening. And then it doesn't pick up for another couple of episodes, just to kind of, because they spend a lot of time dropping threads, or setting up breadcrumbs for things that are going to pay off later. So like the whole thing with the triarchy, that was set up literally in the beginning of episode 1, and doesn't get paid off until like 3 or 4 episodes later. So
the next episode, actually, and then 2 episodes later is when they had the big. 2 episodes later is when they had the big payoff.
Resolution.
The next episode is when it starts. So they pick it up pretty quickly.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is there isn't a thing of, okay, well, hey, triarchy here. You don't want to fight him. I want to fight him. Okay, boom, we're gonna go fight him next episode. It was a thing that progressed, and yeah, while I agree that it's a direct response, I think that they've set up the factions, especially the high towers, as being good at propaganda. So you need to have them spin their propaganda for a bit before the gloves finally come off 100%. That's
yeah. I mean, I think you make good points, Don. But I think that a lot of that could actually just be covered in the first episode, and then by the end of the second, we get blood and cheese. I would even like push it back. I'd be willing, if they did this correctly, willing to them to push blood and cheese back to episode 3. But I think beyond that would be too late.
Yeah, I think And it should be end of episode 1. End of episode 2 is a bit late, but I could. See, the thing is, we're going to talk about this later, but I've talked about this in my video. I'm really dead set on the best place to end the season is with Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne. If Blood and Cheese doesn't happen until episode 5, Rhaenyra takes the Iron Throne in season 4. Like, that's way too slow. Like, boom, 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 boom. We got to get through this. There's a lot to get through. There is no way that can happen beyond episode 5.
And I do think with the pacing that season 1 set, they did set that things move pretty fast. And I think season 2 needs to keep that pace and not take too long to get to certain events.
And I'm not sure how much propaganda, like, who are they propagandizing to? Like, it's not like the public is going to really, I don't know about this. I don't know. I think that I think it's going to be similar to where it was in the book where Alicent and Otto were going to be like, oh, fuck, well, I guess I think Otto has a line like, are you sure you don't have 2 eyes out? Because you were blind. Like, I think they're both going to be like, well, fuck, we're fucked now. I don't think there's anything to propagandize about. I think I just think they're going to dive right into it. I think they're going to realize, well, we're in the war now, so it's happening. Like, immediately.
I get what you're saying, but remember, look, when Otto went to Dragonstone to give the terms to Rhaenyra, he was, just hitting them with the propaganda. Hey, he's got Conqueror's name, he's got the Conqueror's crown, he's got the Conqueror's sword, and he was already living in King's Landing. He's already been anointed by the High Scepter. All propaganda. That was all, that was all about, hey, I need to make sure, or we need to make sure that when people think of this Aegon, no matter what oaths were sworn, and everyone in the kingdom already knows that Rhaenyra was supposed to be the heir. No, forget about all of that. Here's your guy, and here are all the reasons why this is your guy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, the High Towers are spin doctors, because think about it. Everyone knows that Rhaenyra was the heir, right? Everyone knows this. And the funny thing too is, like, when people were in the dragon pit, when they're anointing Aegon as the king, at first people didn't even really want to clap. They were sitting there like, is this supposed to be happening? Okay, I guess this is happening. All right, fine. Because at the end of the day, like he said, he had all of the trappings of legitimacy. So they're gonna want to make the rest of the realm know, or at least they're gonna want to spin the version of this that, oh no, we came there with peace terms, and Luke decided to attack Aemond, so he had to do what he had to do to defend himself. We already know that Luke has attacked him before. He took out Aemon's eye when he was younger, when he was just a boy.
All right. So we do have a lot more topics I want to cover. Right. So I think we'll just agree to disagree on this, unless you had any final thoughts, Alyssa.
Well, I'll just channel our good friend Darren, who is not here this week, and say it's okay to be wrong, Don. You're wrong. It's all right.
You don't happen in episode 4.
Yeah, let's split the difference. Okay, so speaking of direct response, I want to talk about the direct response to Blood and Cheese, which was sending Sir Auric to kill somebody. The Maesters don't really know. They're not sure who it is, and this is something I think the show will clarify, because or at least have their version of it. So that's one big question. Who do you think Auric is going to be sent to kill? I think Rhaenyra. And the other thing is, I think this is going to happen pretty much right after, sorry.
I thought it was Eric that was sent to the Red Keep. Am I missing? I thought
Didn't you say I'm trying to say Auric. is the one.
Yeah, but I thought the one on Team Black was sent into the Red Keep. I thought.
No.
No?
It was no. The other one was sent to Dragonstone.
Yeah.
And they wound up.
Oh, okay. All right. I got it mixed up then.
Yeah.
All right. Carry on then.
Yeah, Arik was sent to Dragonstone to kill
Dragonstone,
someone.
okay.
And they think either Rhaenyra or just Cerys, but they're not really sure, or maybe someone else. But I think it was one of those two. And then Eric catches him, and they fight to the death. So, and the other question is, like, because there's different takes in the books, most people think that they sort of died as brothers at arms, and then Mushroom thinks that they died cursing each other and like, screw you, traitor. And I think the show will play it more tragic, more that these brothers still love each other. Maybe they don't die like saying I love you or anything melodramatic like that, but it's going to be more of it played for a tragedy where these two people just happen to, brothers that actually love each other, happen to be on opposite sides and kill each other over it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Alyssa, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, I think that there's talk about how there were songs written about that, songs sung for generations about the two brothers who did. It sounds like song bullshit to me. Like it definitely it definitely sounds like, a bunch. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna, die cursing each other out. I mean, there can be a happy medium. There can be definitely some feeling between the two without it necessarily having to be like as melodramatic. I think the songs probably exaggerated a little bit, but yeah, I would tend to not go with Mushroom's take on this one. I think I would tend to more go that there is still some love between them, but I don't know if it's going to be like dying in each other's arms and it's going to be I love you, brother. No, I love you, brother. Like I don't think it's going to be quite that, but I don't know. I think it may be closer to that than them cursing at each other, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I think it's going to be a thing where like one of them is cursing at the other one while the other one is like, no, but we're brothers.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like this, I think Eric is going to be the more level-headed of the two, and Eric is going to be the one like, listen, no, we swore an oath, to the king, and Aegon is the king, and you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You stole the crown, yada yada yada. And you're like, yeah, but Rhaenyra was supposed to be the heir. Like, do you really believe that Viserys on his deathbed? So I think it's going to be that Eric is probably going to be portrayed as the more sympathetic of the two, whereas Eric is going to be portrayed as the more misguided of the two. Because, think about it, right? They tried to send Harold Westerling to go and kill Rhaenyra. Wasn't happening. He resigned. We already know Sir Crispin, whatever that jerk off's name is. We already know he has it out for Rhaenyra, so he would not be above telling one of his subordinates, "Hey, you know what? Do me a favor while I'm here, protecting this little douchebag with the crown. Go and kill off his sister or somebody high up, because." Yeah, what just happened with them killing one of the kids? That can't stand. So, do you mind doing this? You remember, for the realm. You're doing it for the realm.
All right. So one of my headphones has died, so I'm going to try turning off my headphones. So if you hear an echo, let me know, and I'll reconnect it. Okay. So hopefully I'm not echoing.
No, don't.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Awesome.
So, little side point. Don brought up Harold Westerling. What's his deal? Like, he's been dead for a long time in the book. So, is he just going to go off to Essos and be Barristan Selmy off screen and do something in Essos? Is he gonna go to Team Black? What is he gonna do? Like, I'm just so puzzled because he's supposed to be dead, and they specifically kept him alive and then allowed him to walk off alive without. I thought for sure in episode 9 that, especially we saw in the preview that there was for episode 9 there was like a confrontation between Kristen Cole and him, and like, oh, Kristen Cole's gonna kill him, and then everything will be right. He'll be dead where he's supposed to be, but he walked out of there alive. So I'm just so curious what he's gonna do.
I think they kept him alive for a reason, and that he's going to play a part that they're going to use him instead of another character.
What character?
Maybe he becomes. I don't know. Maybe he becomes the Beric Dondarrion and goes off to the Riverlands and like fights with the lads. So he's like one of our main characters in that whole thing.
Yeah, honestly speaking, I don't know who they could possibly trade him with. Yeah, I mean, again, it's been a minute since I've actually read the book, so I don't remember all the events in detail. So I mean, like, I don't know specifically of a character that he could whose place he could take. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine right now.
Yeah. I honestly want them to do something with him. If they kept him alive, I think they should just do something more and just.
I think they have to do something with him if they bothered to keep him alive.
Yeah.
I'm just so puzzled as to what that's going to be. So
the other thing that kind of
let me raise my Targaryen glass to you.
The other thing that kind of has me a little kind of off a bit is the fact that they let him resign, which I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to be able to just resign.
Yeah.
They take a whole vow and everything.
Well, see, he got kicked out. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Well, he didn't technically resign. He said that right now we don't have a king, so until there's a king, I have nobody to serve. But does that mean he's going to serve Aegon, or does he?
But the thing about it too is the fact that the Kingsguard, yes, they are the Kingsguard, but they also protect other members of the royal family as well. So as long as there's a royal family, you're still supposed to, be protecting whoever's part of, like, whoever you're assigned to.
Okay, so when he said there's no king, so I don't serve anyone, I think that was just an excuse to be like, I'm not fucking killing Rhaenyra. So that's making me think that he's going to join Team Black.
Yeah,
because I think he's just pissed off with them for trying to get him to murder a member of the royal family.
Yeah, I mean, he would innocent member of the royal family at that too, because at this point, Rhaenyra hadn't done anything. She didn't even know her father was dead. So it's like, okay, do you mind going to Dragonstone and killing the woman who's supposed to be the queen? Because we're taking shit over right now, and it's like, you do know, like, all of these accoutrement that I'm wearing actually is supposed to mean something, right? Like, there's a book with my name in it, with a vow that I had to say in front of a guy who goes and swirls oil on my head and all that stuff. That's you do know that means a thing, right? And Otto Hightower was just kind of like, don't mean shit to me.
All right. So yeah, I want to go ahead and keep this moving and move on to the next point I want to talk about, which was in the chat, I believe someone brought up Kragan Stark. Kragan Stark and Nettles are on their way. Yep. We'll get to Nettles shortly, but I want to get to Kragan Stark because I've heard through the spoiler grapevine that he's going to play a larger role in the show than he did in the books, and that we're going to get a sequence with Jace spending time with him and like becoming friends or whatever. And I think I mean, this is alluded to in the book as well. We'll see if they do the whole. What was it? Sarah Snow, I think, was
Sarah
mushroom.
Snow. I have some
Yeah.
thoughts on that. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Because
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do Sarah Snow, but
No.
could be wrong. You agree?
I see. That was Mushroom was the only one who thought that Sarah Snow was a thing. The other historians all it was unclear whether she even existed, and I just don't like one of the things where they were questioning was, well, Jace has already been. He's such an honorable guy that it doesn't seem like something he would do, and seeing him now on the show, it just seems like it would be way out of character. Also, as I said, they got a story to get through. I don't know that they have time for this side thing with Jace and a bastard girl. Like I just don't. I think that boom. Like I just don't think they have time for that nonsense. So I don't think it's going to be in the show. I think Mushroom was wrong, but we'll see.
I mean, that might be not being a show, but I think they are going to spend time with him in Winterfell and him in the ear.
Oh yeah. But with Craig and Stark and getting to the point of things, like not a side thing with having an affair with a bastard, which they would have to. I mean, that's like really delving into his character because that's a change.
Oh yeah, Mushroom said they got married in front of a werewitch, and I definitely don't see that happening.
Yeah, like that seems like not something he would do at all. Like he's been portrayed in the show as being really honorable, so I just can't see the show changing his character that quickly. And also like spending that much time on his character. I could see spending time on Craig and Stark character because I already before you said that I already felt that he's going to be a bigger part in the show without even hearing any spoilers. I feel like he should be a bigger part in the show, but his character, sure, but Jace is going to be dead by the end of the season. Like I don't think they're going to like. Then what's the point of having this side quest with him getting and this thing with? They got too much to get through. Like I just don't see it happening.
I agree with Brandon in the chat saying Mushroom was wrong. It needs to be a T-shirt. I'd buy that.
I mean, wow. So you think definitely, definitely Jace is done for by the end of this season. Because I mean, like, damn. So,
Well, so yeah, me and Alyssa, I think, are on page that Jace is gonna die before the end of the season, like
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
I think 9 or 10's got to be like the attack on King's Landing. It's got to end with Rhaenyra taking the Iron Throne. I think Jace is dead by like episode 8.
Yeah, 8 seems right to me. Yeah.
That's not the pace that they went season 1. Like that's the pace they're going. They gotta boom. They gotta get through this.
I mean,
I 4 seasons, man. We only have 4 seasons.
I get it. I mean, like, damn, like some of these events. I mean, because yes, there are a lot of events that happen in the dance, but like some of the stuff because of the way that they shifted the time too. It's like, well, are you really going to be able to drag this out the 4? Because at some point, if you start packing too much into one season, that means later seasons, like,
Well, I think we both have thoughts on how the later seasons will go as well.
I laid it out in my video. Like I know I have exactly.
I think there's still plenty of material left for the later.
Yeah, there's a ton of material. And then there's got if they end there at season 2, there's still a ton of shit to get through in season 3. Like a ton. Like there's so much stuff they have to get through.
Again, I think I'm gonna have to start reading The Dance and Fire and Blood again because there are a lot of events that that have been omitted from my brain.
No, that's fair. I'm the same way. But I just read Fire and Blood for the first time, so it's still fresh in my mind.
And I have more to say about the Starks if we're
sure.
So I didn't say this in my own video, but I kind of envision this as the opening scene of the season, and I think I've heard other people kind of thinking along those lines, like just go full on fan service. You know, everybody loves the Starks, so like let's like open with a shot of Winterfell and the Weirwood tree and like the people inside of Winterfell and maybe some Stark kids, you know, sprawling with each other and just like very Winterfell-y, and then dragon flies over Winterfell. I think that would be a really great way to open the season. I think it would definitely be fan service since the Starks are really popular and Winterfell is really popular. But I think it would involve skipping his trip to the Eyrie, to the Vale. But I think you can, honestly. Like, I think you can sum that up in a line. Like, oh yeah, I got Jane Eyre on my side now, so now I just need you. Like, I think that, and if people really want to see Jane Eyre, I think she can come in later. But I don't think we need to see him go to both the Vale and Winterfell. I think it'd be really effective to open the season in Winterfell, and he's already gone to the Vale. And
I think we will see him in the Vale because I think the Lady Erin's gonna come into play later, and I think.
Well, she can come in later, but she just doesn't have to be in that scene.
But I think they will introduce.
Here. Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I think they skip over the initial meeting between the two of them, and she comes in later. That's what I think. Like, it's not that she won't be on the show; just they'll skip over that initial.
Oh, okay. Well, there was. I personally think they'll show her, but I could be wrong. That's just.
They will show her, just not. They won't.
No, I mean at the start of the season before they get to Winterfell.
I think they're opening the show with Winterfell.
Okay, I could be wrong.
Right? I could be wrong too. It's just my well, I think it would be a very fan servicey thing to do, and I think they might.
I think they could start an episode that way. Maybe not necessarily the season.
I think the whole season needs to start.
You know what? I think
the whole season.
I'm going to agree with Alyssa on that one because remember, we didn't see Jace complete his mission. I'm pretty sure that he hasn't heard about his brother. Yeah, so I could see them doing Winterfell first and then going to the Eyrie afterwards. Even though I'm pretty sure did Rhaenyra tell him to go to the Eyrie and then go to Winterfell after? Or
yes.
He went to the Eyrie. In the book, he went to the Eyrie first.
Right.
Yeah,
I think on the show, did she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the show she did specifically say go to the Vale, then go to Winterfell.
Yeah, she did.
But the thing that the show will admit is that in the books he also went to White Harbor, and the show's not going to bother with that.
Right.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Yeah.
They didn't bother introducing the Manderleys until season 7. So I mean, this is going to be interesting because I do agree that we're gonna have to. That would be awesome. That would be an awesome fan servicey thing to do.
I'm open to the idea. I'm sticking with the Lady Aaron, but you guys could totally write.
But there's what the Maesters know about that encounter with Lady Aaron was kind of vague, and it's just like it was probably Mushroom who said somebody said that they think that I think it was Mushroom who said that she said that that she'll only join him if he can make her come with his mouth.
That sounds like the Mushroom thing.
I don't think to say. Yeah,
I don't think the show will do that. That's the one thing I was going to bring that up. I totally don't think the show would do that.
That was really the only interesting thing she said. So I think other than she's not even going to say that. I think you just skip right on over that. And
I feel like
they are later.
I feel like similar to Craig and Stark, though, that they're going to make her an important character towards the end, and that they need to show her.
They will, just not then. They'll introduce her later.
I think they'll introduce her now, but we'll see. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. I want to talk quickly about Kristen Cole, this crispy Cole, becoming the Hand of the King. And I see this playing out. It's weird because I feel it playing out somewhat similar in the book. So in the books, Otto Hightower was like writing letters to all these families and try to scheme and plot and make alliances, which makes sense because it makes him the Tywin Lannister of this time, which I totally think he is. That the pen is mightier than the sword. There we go. There's Tywin, and so I think that Yeah, so I think that's going to happen. But in the books, Aegon was like, "Oh, I'm sick of you sitting around not doing anything. You should be out battling. I remove you from Hand of the King." It's hard to see this version of Aegon II behaving in such a way, but maybe he will. Maybe he will become a hot-headed asshole with and sort of get the power lust we saw him in the crowning being like, yeah. So maybe this will be true, but I definitely think that he will remove Otto Hightower and put Kristen as Hand of the King. I think the show will do that.
Wait, if I may, because look, see, this to me specifically points out why you can't start off episode 1 or 2 with blood and cheese.
Let's move beyond this.
Because think about it, right? If
I
you're
didn't say
talking
start
about
off episode 1 and 2, just the end of episode
At
2.
the end of
but
episode one.
here's the thing, right? Because if you're talking about Kristen Cole being Hand of the King, stripping Otto Hightower of office, right? Yeah, there has to be a reason why Aegon suddenly spazzes out and is like, "No, you're not doing the right thing." So, yeah, I mean, like now, mind you, yes, I will definitely say I think Otto Hightower being stripped of Hand of the King is going to come after that, right? But yeah, I'm thinking that probably happens episode 5 or 6 where he's been writing letters and you find out it's been a few weeks or something like that, and Aegon is like, "Yo, one of my kids is dead. Granddad, what the hell are you doing writing letters when we should be out in the field?"
So it could happen in episode 3 after Blood and Cheese.
Well, not getting into which episode it's going to be in, I'd want to say that I definitely got the impression from that scene you mentioned, Mark, from last season, where he's going, yeah, like I think he's turning into full-on crazy Aegon. He's not going to be as bad as Joffrey, but I think he's going to be Joffrey light. And I think, which he kind of is in the book, and I absolutely see it playing out exactly the same way in the show as it did in the book. Like, I don't see that there will be much of a difference. I do see Aegon behaving that way. He hasn't yet, but I see that that's what he's going to turn it to. And I think that I think we saw kind of the beginning of that in last season.
I mean, I do agree that he is going to wind up becoming power mad, or power mad. But I think a lot of it is going to be in response to the blood and cheese incident. And him being pushed by Alicent and the rest of the family to demand satisfaction for everything that's transpired.
I think that Aegon firing Otto is going to go against Alicent's wishes. I think Alicent is wise enough to know this is not a good move.
I agree.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's, because we saw this conflict with her and Otto brewing. Maybe she's like, you're scheming against me. So let's put my loyal servant Kristen in as Hand of the King instead. So maybe they could do that.
Oh, you know what? Do you think there's a possibility that she offers Hand of the King to this Westeros' version of?
Oh no, he's more of a shadowy figure. I don't
who's that? I can't. Oh! You're saying that's Littlefinger?
Yeah.
Or Laris you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's more of a shadowy figure that doesn't want to be that prominent.
Yeah, I thought he was already the Master of Whisperers in the book by now.
In the book, yeah, he was.
Yeah, in the book, but like,
so he's he's much more in the shadow. He's not even on the small council here.
Yeah,
he's the king's confessor, or the Lord's confessor.
Yeah,
whatever the
Lord
something
yeah,
confessor.
Confessor, yeah. So he's supposed to get confessions out of criminals or whatever. Which I think he also was in the book, but in the show he's just that.
Right. So. Yeah. I'm just saying they could possibly change it up just a little bit and make Laris Hand of the King, or at least for a time. Maybe, he's like, hey, I can get those things done. Oh, sorry, no, I got to put on the strong voice. I can get those things done for you. Because you're my queen.
You scare me when you do that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that when they go off, when Aemond goes off with Kristen Cole, I think Kristen Cole's got to be Hand of the King at that point, because the King Regent and the Hand of the King both leave and go off, and that's how Daemon and Rhaenyra are able to sneak in the back door. So I think Kristen's least got to be Hand of the King by then, if nothing else. But
I'm not saying that Laris would be Hand permanently. I mean, like maybe interim Hand.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see that happening. I think they'll stick with Kristen because the show.
Agree. I think
the show's kind of been favoring Kristen.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think Laris likes to control things from the shadows.
Yeah.
Rather than be prominent like that.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right. Did you have something else to say before I move on, Alyssa?
No, I was just going to say, can we move on? Yeah, move on. Ready to move on.
So this leads to Kristen Cole, after it becomes Hand, he does all these campaigns around the Crown Lands, and I think we'll see this in like a montage or just like snippets of this, like taking over some of the other castles, which will lead to the battle at Rook's Rest, where I can't remember the name of that damn castle, but he attacks it. But the Lord, because he attacked all his other castles first, sees it coming and sends for Rhaenys. Or sends for Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra sends Rhaenys on her dragon, but it's a trap. Then we see Admiral Akbar, because, in fact, Aegon II and Aemon both show up with their dragons, but Rhaenys takes them on, falls in the battle, but Aegon is severely wounded, burned half the size of his face. His dragon severely injured as well, so Aemon takes over as a protector of the realm. Did I say Aemon? Yeah, Aemon. So I think this will happen similar in the show. I don't think the show will change this much. I do wonder, since they downplayed Tyrion's wounds at the Battle of Blackwater, if they might downplay Aegon's like burnt on half the side of his face wounds. I kind of would say that they wouldn't, because him being severely injured and out of the action for a while, I think, is a major part of the story. So I think they would keep this the same. Alyssa, let's start with your thoughts on this one.
I agree. I think that they will. Plus, that just makes him so much creepier when they bring him back in season 4. Dragonstone, waiting for Rhaenyra, is like going to be in the shadows. He's going to be like half burnt and like, yeah. I think that I don't think that they will change his injuries the way they did for Tyrion in the Battle of Blackwater Bay. So, yeah, I kind of do see it playing out probably in a pretty similar way to the way it did in the book. I don't think that we'll change it drastically. Maybe some little tweaks here and there, but I think it would be the gist of it will be mostly the same. I think that it's going to be a really powerful and sad death that a lot of people are going to be sad about when Rhaenys goes. Even people like me who know what's coming, I think it's probably going to be really sad, because I really grew attached to that character toward the end of the season. I thought they really did well with that character at the end of season 1. And so I think that it's going to be really, really hard for a lot of people, especially the people who don't know it's coming. But even us who knows it's coming will probably be really affected by it. So I expect it to be a pretty powerful scene. And I don't expect them to change it much from the book. Maybe just a little tweak here and there.
I think we'll get more of Rhaenys. Like, she'll go out as a badass.
Yeah. Well, the way I read it, I was reading her going out as a badass too. But yeah, they'll probably focus in more on her too. Yeah.
And maybe we'll get like a dead meat scene before she dies. Like, oh, I'm just going off to this castle. It's going to be an easy thing. I'll tell you where Jimmy Hoffa is buried when I get back.
You know what I think is going to wind up happening is there's going to be this confrontation where Aemond or Aegon, one of the two, is going to be like, yeah, you should have killed us before all of this. Because there have been a lot of people who've been saying, like, oh, why didn't Rhaenys just finish all of them off? I think that is going to be, I think that was, not necessarily Chekhov's gun, but that's going to be a thing that comes back to haunt her at the Battle of Rook's Rest, where one of them is going to say, yeah, well, you know what? You had the opportunity to kill us before and you didn't, and now here you are. Goodbye.
Yeah, I could see them saying something like, I'm not going to hesitate the way you hesitated.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that happening, for sure.
But yeah, I think it's going to be like the books just said the dragons fight and they fall and they die. I think the show, kind of like they did at the end of season 1, is going to be a pretty epic dragon battle. I think that's going to stretch on a bit longer.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's without question for me. I think anything in the book where they're like, oh, and then the dragons just fall and they die. I think it's gonna be turned into a big epic, huge, large scale, cost and all your CGI budget type of battle.
So, Alyssa, I remember from your video you said end of episode 6. I would agree with that. Episode 6 or 7.
I think by the end of episode 6, I think this will happen. But I don't know.
Right. Yes. You have me convinced. 7 hells.
Not trying to argue with you. I'm just laying out our sort of outline of when we think this is going to happen. All right. So the dragon seeds. So in the books, Jacaerys commissions like all these to find these bastards, and all these people die trying to tame these dragons. And Daemon, I think at this stage, has gone off to Harrenhal and is just like chilling there. I think that the show's going to have Daemon do this, not Jacaerys. First of all, because they already had some scenes with Daemon trying to sing to the dragon. I saw this one meme that showed where he went to what was that dragon he went to in the finale? Was
Vermithor?
Vermithor. Yeah, this meme where he went to Vermithor and he started singing like Backstreet Boys, "You are my fire." But anyway, I think the show has teased that really this is Daemon's thing. And so I don't think he's just going to fuck off to Harrenhal. I think he's going to, and they might even push the dragon seed up a bit earlier, maybe early in season 2. And then he fucks off to Harrenhal after he gets everything, like most of this started. I don't know. Don, what were your thoughts on
that? I could see where you're going with that one. But also, I mean, because of the fact that they've shown Jace trying to be very proactive, and then also the fact that, look, he's aware he's a bastard. I think he would be.
Don, I will have your tongue. Oh, sorry.
I think he would be more open to that idea than any of the other Targaryens would at this particular point in time. I think because of his parentage, we shall say, that he would be more open to saying, hey, you know what? What about the dragon seeds? Now, mind you, I think that Daemon could play a part in it, in terms of him saying like, hey, maybe looking around and saying, hey, you know what, we have all these dragons. What about, but we don't really have that many dragon riders. And I think at that point, maybe Jace could possibly get the idea to say, hey, well, what about all of these, dragon seeds out here? So I don't think they're going to 100% take it away from Jace, but I do think it's going to be a collaborative effort between him and Daemon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Damon's idea, but maybe Jace is the one who carries it out because Damon's off. He's gonna be like, well, I gotta run off and run this errand to Harrenhal. Could you take care of this for me? But I feel like it's gotta be his idea because of the scene from last season with him singing to the dragon and getting the dragons was such a big deal for him. He's the one who kept talking about all the dragons that they had. He's trying to find riders for this dragon. Apparently, he sang in Valerian to Vermithor that you will have a rider soon. So that, to me, all of that points to it's absolutely got to be Damon's idea. But he could pass that off to Jace to actually do it. Like, I'm busy. I gotta go take care of some things in Harrenhal. Jace, you go take care of this. So I could see something like that. But I do feel like the idea has got to originate with him because it just seems like it almost already has. Like, I feel like if we could read his mind at the end of season 1, he's already thinking about this. So I feel like. It will come from him, but I could see Jace being the one who actually goes around and finds the dragon seeds.
See, I would be more inclined that it would be kind of the reverse of what Don said, where Damon will spearhead this, but Jace will be involved, and maybe at one point Damon has to go to the Harrenhal, and so turns it over to Jace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he'll spearhead it, I think, regardless of when it happens, of when he goes to Harrenhal. But I think he will. I think it'll be his idea at the very least.
And do we think we're going to get all the same sort of bastard characters? Hugh the Hammer. Was it Ulf the White? Is that how you say his name?
I have never heard it pronounced.
Okay.
I've always said it Ulf because it's ULF, and I pronounce it Ulf. But
Ulf,
yeah,
okay, whatever.
Right.
But Ulf the White, Hugh the Hammer, Nettles, and the I can't even remember the bastards who become Valerians.
Yeah, Adam and Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, Alyssa, you brought up in your video a theory people had that they're just going to bring back Laenor instead of introducing the Valerian bastards, and I agree with you. I don't like that theory one bit. I think the show just wanted to give him a happy ending, and he's off in Essos celebrating, having a good time with his lover, never going to see him again.
Yeah, and furthermore, I don't want them to do that. I definitely want to see Adam and Alan. Like, I think those are characters they cannot cut out or change or merge into one person.
Yeah, they could cut out one of them. Like, they could cut out Alan, maybe.
Yeah, but then at the end, Alan's got to be the head of
and control the fleet. Yeah,
control the fleet, and Adam's dead. I think they need both of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They could.
But it's hard to imagine Corlys having bastards. But I suppose he could.
I think all those lords in the Westeros. Yeah. I think
he's so like honorable.
Yeah, but he gets lonely out in sea. He goes off the sea for so long away.
Well, the other thing too is because in the books they're supposed to be long. The same age as like Jace and Lucerys. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be one of those things too, where it's like, weren't you supposed to be off fighting in the Stepstone?
He was fighting in the Stepstones. He had a little side quest, a little side adventure while he was a little break.
Yeah, they're supposed to be Laenor, like officially Laenor's bastards, but nobody believes that. I don't think.
Yeah, so. That's gonna be. I wonder how. I'm wondering how the show is gonna play it, only because, it was rumored that they were Laenor's bastards, but it was also rumored that they were Corlys's. Could it possibly be that they make them? What's this guy's name? Vaemon's bastards.
Ooh,
they could do that.
Perhaps, actually,
yeah.
That actually might make more sense to make them because that guy was a bastard.
But also too, if you think about it, because later on Rhaenyra turns on all of the dragon seeds, and kind of specifically the Valarian ones too, where she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm not even. What are we taking shots for?"
Oh, I know. I'm just taking shots randomly.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are Targaryens.
Yeah, but
Anytime anyone mentions bastard, Mark takes a shot.
You
So,
bastard!
so when she decides to turn on the dragon seeds, and Corlys is like, all right, well, I got to get him out of here and free them. I think it might make a little sense if you had them be Vaemon's bastard kids, you know, because at the end of the day, he had his whole thing of trying to claim them for the Valarian line, and it's like, hey, no, those are not Valarians. So at this point, they can be almost his adoptive adoptive sons or whatever that he legitimizes, because at that point there's not going to be any heir to Driftmark, at least not a male heir to Driftmark. So yeah, I mean,
Well, does he adopt them after Jason's death, or Jason's considered in line for the king? So, but then wouldn't Joffrey be Driftmark? Well, as
Joffrey
long
would
as
be like next in line for the drift mark.
yeah, as long as
Driftwood.
Jason's alive. So don't they? So yeah, I'm trying to get my timeline straight. He doesn't legitimize them until after Jason's death.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I personally think that I like the idea of them being Vaemons, and I could see them doing that. But I think Occam Fraser, the most simplest, is the. I think it's just Corlys.
Yeah.
I can buy that he would have bastard children when he's off the sea and away from his wife for a long time.
They
So
might.
I think it'll just be Corlys.
They might keep it vague.
Yeah, they could.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
And Corlys
I
be like,
mean-
oh, I didn't have any bastards. What are you talking about?
I mean, I don't know. I just think that they're probably going to make them Vaemon's kids because of the fact that when Rhaenyra turns on them and calls for their arrest, it's like, well, yeah, you really don't have a reason to go and try to arrest Corlys's kids, but Vaemon's you would, because especially if they know the reason why their father is dead. I think it adds more of that complex dynamic to where it's like, well, we weren't even originally in line to inherit anything, and now here we are. We're fighting for the queen who had her father beheaded, or that's the reason why he was beheaded, and now she's trying to do the same thing to us. So I think that them making, I think it would probably work more towards the narrative that they built up if they make those Vaemon's kids instead of Corlys's.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. I think that would add something to it. In the chat, Brendan's saying Vaemon can't refute their argument either. And but I don't know, he still has his tongue. That's what Damon said anyway. Anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Keep things moving here. I want to talk about, so in the books, Rhaenyra sends off her two youngest sons, Aegon the Younger, not to be confused with Aegon the Second, and Viserys, not to be confused with the old king who looked like the Crypt Keeper right before he died, but her two youngest sons, off to Pentos. Actually, yeah, they both go to Pentos, and Joffrey goes to the Vale. And I think they're going to definitely send Joffrey to the Vale. Maybe, perhaps you two are totally correct, and this is where we meet Lady Arryn, that we don't see earlier in the season. But I got some, I don't know, because in the books, the Mirish, or the Triarchy, form an alliance with the Greens, and they attack the Valerian fleet, but first they attack this ship that's on its way to Pentos, and they attempt to abduct Aegon and Viserys, but Aegon gets away in his dragon and flies back to Dragonstone, barely making it out. And then Viserys is held captive by the Triarchy until after the events of the Dance with Dragon, once Aegon the Younger is king. And I was going to say spoilers, but come on, this is the book, so they're all spoilers. But anyway, I don't know if the show would do that way, because the show's not going to go that far into Aegon the Third's kingship. So I don't know if they're going to change it up and make it so Viserys isn't captured. Maybe Viserys goes to the Vale with Joffrey and just hangs out in the Vale for the rest of the show, so he's just out of sight, out of mind until the end, rather than being, because that seems like a hanging thread to have him be held captive and gone for the rest of the show.
Or they just kill him. He just dies.
I mean, well, see, but this is part of the reason why. This is part of the reason why I'm like, damn, they kind of screw the timeline a bit, because again, Aegon the Younger should be, around like probably 10 at this point, because if you're talking about he's flying away on a dragon, remember, we just saw him at King's Landing with Viserys. He was a toddler.
Yeah. Well, he's 8, I think, at this point, because they said he's 10 when he's after the Dance of the Dragons, and this is the beginning of the Dance of the Dragons. So I think he's around 8, but still, you're right. I think he is like a toddler on the show. So,
well, then my thoughts are maybe they'll full grow the storyline altogether, and just keep the 2 young boys there, or maybe send them off to Vale or something, and just get them out of the show.
Well, Viserys has got to go in some way or another. I think we'll just kill him.
But and Aegon actually needs to be around. He needs to be around for the events.
Yeah, Aegon needs to be around, and Aegon needs to end up being the king. So Viserys has got to not be there. So I think they could just kill him off.
Right.
No.
Either that, or they stick to the book, and he goes off to.
I could see him just hanging out in the Vale.
Yeah, but at the end of all of this, he can't be there anymore, because Aegon becomes the king, not him.
But he's the younger one. Aegon's the older one.
Oh, Viserys you're right. I'm getting confused. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, and because during Aegon's rule, that would have been awkward if he was the older one, because during the rule he comes back and hey, brother, let's hang out.
Yeah.
So I think that could happen earlier, like after Aegon's main king, like immediately they bring Viserys back. That's something that Cregan Stark does. Maybe send for his brother.
Yeah. Maybe, or they could kill him.
All right. So what else do we want to talk about next? Next was the Battle of the Gullet. Where I don't know if there's much. I didn't really. I think this is going to happen pretty much the way it happened in the books. I think they're going to keep with it that the Triarchy is going to attack, because it makes sense that they made enemies with the Valerians, and that the Greens would take advantage of that and try to ally with them, and that they would attack the fleet, and that Jace is going to die in a very similar way that he died. I think it's going to be a huge epic battle. It's going to blow their budget. And yeah, so I don't really have any sort of shocking predictions on this one. I think it's going to happen pretty much how it happened in the books. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts.
In the show, didn't Corlys make it sound like that the Triarchy is just gone now, and like we rule Essos, and they're just not a threat anymore? Or
well, no, I think what it says is that he controlled the Stepstones in the Narrow Sea, which if I recall, is the same in the books.
Okay.
But the Triarchy still exists, but they're out in Essos fucking about.
Okay.
Right.
They just, out of the Narrow Sea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just know not to mess with the sea snake in his fleet. So they're just like, all right, fine, seas are yours.
But I think it makes sense though that they would, when the Greens reach out to them, they would take this advantage of this opportunity to get back at them and retake the because I think that's one of the things the Greens offered them is that you can have the stepstones.
Yeah, 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 and that makes a lot of sense for the show too. I think that it would probably be pretty similar.
Yeah, I got nothing to add.
All right, so no other thoughts on that one. We can move on. But yeah, so we all agree though that Jacaerys is going to die in this, just like he did in the books.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
think he will.
Episode 8.
Yes.
Just saying my timeline. All right, so next, Darren. Darren, is it? I'm thinking Darren, our friend. No, what, is that how you say his name?
Darren or Dar? I've heard it pronounced
I think
Daron or Daron.
I think it's Dayron.
Dayron, maybe.
Dayron. Okay, we'll just go with Dayron for now. So he has been confirmed for season 2, even though he wasn't in the show, and some people were wondering if they cut him out. But he's been confirmed for season 2, and so I think we're going to get some scenes with him in Old Town, establishing him as like the more saner of Alicent's sons, and I think that would be a nice contrast to maybe even to balance things out, so we're not so far onto Team Black. And have him sort of as a ward, and then maybe towards the end of the season start his advance upward where he uses his dragon to, because the Reach, I think they're going to keep with the book where the Reach is going to be split, like the Tarleys and a few others are going to side with the Blacks, and the Tyrells are going to be Switzerland, and so we're going to see Daeron lead him and the Hightower guy. Was it Otto's brother, right? Osmond or Amon or something like that. Yeah,
I forget what the brother's name is, but yeah,
they're gonna lead. I think we saw him in season 1.
We did, yeah.
So I think, I think they're gonna.
Wait, Otto's. Yes, we saw Otto Hightower's brother. We didn't. I don't remember seeing Darren though.
No, not Darren. We're talking about
Darren. Right. Talking about Otto's brother. Yeah, we saw Otto's brother. Darren hasn't even been mentioned, which I wish they did acknowledge that the third son exists, at least a line like he's off in Old Town. Yes. Because I think a lot of the show people are going to think that they just made him up just for this season. Wait, she doesn't have another son. So I kind of wish they had mentioned him, but I am glad that he'll be on the show because he's pretty important.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be interesting to see, like, what they're going to do with him, entering the fray, as it were, with all of this happening in the background, all of the family drama. Because I'm also wondering how pro Hightower is he going to be versus the rest of the family, because at this point he's grown up as being as Brandon says here, a page in Old Town. So he's again, like I said before, Hightower is all about their propaganda. I think that he's gonna be like full brainwashed into the Hightower cause. There's not going to be any flip-flopping with him about, oh well, what about this one and that one, and do you think we should have done that, and does this person have to die? I think he's going to be all for it, whatever it is that brings the Greens to prominence. I think even above Aegon and Aemond, he's going to be all for it.
I agree he's going to be completely Team Hightower, but I think he's going to be a straight shooter, which is how they portrayed him in the books. Not like a scheming like Otto was.
Oh yeah, no. I think he's not going to be doing anything in the background. I think he's going to be flying the banner extra hard, and anybody who comes around like, yes, this is for Team Hightower. Yeah, I know my last name is Targaryen, but this is Team Hightower right now.
Alyssa, had any thoughts on this?
No, I don't really actually have any extra thoughts on this.
Alright.
Yeah, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll move on to what. Now, John, I want to move on and talk more about our how we think the rest of the show is going to be paced and what's going to happen when. So, don't take offense that you may disagree with our timelines, but yeah, so me and Alyssa pretty much both agree that the season 2 should end with Rhaenyra taking King's Landing, and I think they'll play this out pretty much exactly how it was in the book. That after Aegon becomes out of the picture, that Aemon's going to become restless and is like, let's go hatch this awesome plan to take Harren Hall. But Daemon is going to hear about this from his friends still in the city guard, and then it's just going to swoop in and easily take King's Landing. And I liked how Alyssa described this in her video, that it's going to be this huge emotional scene where we see Rhaenyra walk up to the Iron Throne and then credits, and that's the end of season 2. I think that would be a perfect place to end season 2.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I'm like kind of trying to play the events in my head, and I mean, because it would be a perfect excuse me, it would be a perfect mirror to the end of episode 1 of season 1, and also, you know, piggybacking off the end of season 3 where the last shot is Rhaenyra. So for her to finally get the Iron Throne, I think would definitely be a nice way to cap off season 2, and also set the stage for season 3, because finally, you know, we finally get to see a queen, a Targaryen queen, sit the Iron Throne, because we didn't get that with Daenerys. You know, Daenerys never actually got to sit on the Iron Throne at all. So to see,
No, she did, and she did the whole Hitler speech or whatever. God,
but she never actually got to sit on the throne, though.
Yeah, they showed her go up and like touch it. So I don't know if she actually. I think she said it. I'm pretty sure.
No,
I tried to wipe those last 2 episodes from my memory.
The point is, we will get to see. We will get to see a mostly sane Targaryen woman sit on the Iron Throne for an extended period of episodes.
Yes.
And those poor show watchers getting all excited. The Rhaenyra's gonna take the Iron Throne. Yay, Rhaenyra's on the Iron Throne. Hey, we still have 2 seasons left. This is not going to end well for you guys. Don't get too excited about this.
Yeah, and I can see them totally playing up as this huge triumphant moment where everyone's going to cheer, and maybe that's where they're leaning more black. So,
yeah, and just to have everybody's hopes and dreams just shattered in season 2.
I would hope that those who watched Game of Thrones will learn from the lessons of that show, where just because she is a blonde woman with dragon and righteous cause does not mean she will do the right thing. Because there are a bunch of young girls out there who are named either Daenerys or Khaleesi right now, who, when they grow up and find out who they're named after, be looking at their parents like, are you shitting me right now? You didn't wait till the end of the series to find out whether or not she was.
No, their parents will never let them watch season 7 and 8.
Yeah. What happens once Daenerys goes to Westeros? Don't worry about it. She becomes queen. They live happily ever after. That's fine.
Nah, so listen. Somebody's going to make a video on TikTok when your parents named you Daenerys and you finally find out the truth.
Yeah, well, I actually saw a meme at the beginning of this season saying, if you're thinking about naming your kids off of any of these characters, wait till the end of the show.
But honestly, I think the real thing the parents can say, well, sorry, we named you this before the show started, got bad, but when it was good. But anyway, what? Okay, so I want to quickly, well, not too quickly. I want to spend some time on sort of where we think the rest of the show, season 3 and 4, might go. And I want to very quickly lay out my sort of timeline. I'm just going to throw off names of events, and if you've read the books, which you should have if you're watching this, then you should know what I'm talking about. So my timeline is slightly different than Alyssa's if you've seen her video. So I think season 3 will cover main events like Aegon. I think, this is the one thing I want to cover before I start listing shit off. I think the show is going to show us Larys spiriting Aegon II away. And I also think we're going to see, and this is more of a season 4 thing, but I think we're going to see Aegon actually return to Dragonstone, whereas in the books, it's like Aegon just disappears and we don't see him again until Rhaenyra shows up. So, ha, I'm here! And they sort of then flash back and then tell the events of Aegon. I think this show will show this in real time. And so I think Aegon's mainly just going to sit out season 3 and then return for season 4.
I think they could. I could also see them doing it similar to the book, and I think that they could do something. I don't think Game of Thrones has ever done a format like this. I think it would be new to them, but I could see in season 4 at the end of one episode, Rhaenyra goes up to Aegon, ha, and he's there, and he's been gone for a long time. We have no idea what happened with him. The next episode is all flashback and shows us everything that happened.
There's a lot of shows that do the format, but you're right. Game of Thrones hasn't.
Game of Thrones has never done it.
But that doesn't mean they won't. Yeah.
So I could see them doing it that way so that they could surprise people and go, oh, he's still alive. They can also do it the way you said and not make it a surprise and just show you what
I think it would be cool if the show stuck with Larys sort of just disappearing. When as soon as Rhaenyra shows up, Larys is just gone. You don't see him again, and as soon as she leaves, all of a sudden he reappears. I kind of like that in the books, and I could see the show keeping to that.
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, look, we do love our surprises, right? So, I think showing Aegon actually going to Dragonstone would be the wrong move, because I think that you're gonna need that suspense of, okay, well, we know he's gone, but where is he? And of course, yes, we will already know, but this is one of those things where I think you don't want the audience to have more information than the characters do. So with Rhaenyra being one of those focal points, I don't think you would want the audience to know more than Rhaenyra does at that particular point. So this way, when he does pop up again, we get the eventual fate of Rhaenyra. Then it becomes a oh my god, I can't believe they did that moment.
Yeah, and I definitely see what you're saying, Don. I definitely think that is a strong possibility that the show might go that way. But I also think it could go the other way, where Aegon does disappear for all of season 3, and nobody knows what happens. And then towards the middle, start of season 4, we see him turn up to Dragonstone with his dragon and then start retaking it, and that could be the shock. And to me, that would add an element of tragedy when Rhaenyra is off hiding and she sends notes to Dragonstone saying, "Oh, I'm coming home," and then the audience would be like, "Oh no, don't go there! Aegon's there." So I think that also could be an interesting way to play.
They could do it. My preference would be that she's writing those letters to Dragonstone, and the show's like, "Oh, cool, yay! She's gonna be writing Dragonstone." All right, that's what I want to get everybody's hopes up, and then he comes out of the shadows. That's what I'm saying. He's burned, the half disfigured and coming out of the shadows. Dun dun dun! It's me. It's gonna be like I think that would be a big moment. I think they got. I don't think they should ruin it. I don't think that they should let us know that Aegon is at Dragonstone at all, or that he's even still around, or we don't know where he is. I agree with Dawn. I think they should just keep it a mystery. Where is he until that moment where she walks into Dragonstone sometime in season 4, and that's what I think. But
especially if there's a point where he's just like, "Hello, sister."
yeah.
No, that's fair enough, and I could definitely see that working. But I'm also, I don't know, I'm open to maybe they won't, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, they might not, but I'm just saying. Actually, if I got to choose, I think I would do it that way. But
I might choose the other way, but we'll see. I would be happy with either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, so now let me list off the events I think are going to happen in season 3. So Aegon's escape, execution of Otto Hightower, madness of Helena, battle of the God's Eye, Daeron's conquest in the Breach, Hugh and Ulf's betrayal. Ulf's like wolf, but without the W. Okay, and Daemon and Nettle's affair, and then season 3 ending with Daemon and Aemon killing each other. And I think this is where I differ from Alyssa, who predicted Rhaenyra would be kicked out of King's Landing, like all the riots and everything happening at the end of season 3. But I was thinking about this because I was laying out the seasons, and I feel like they would leave too much for season 3 and not enough for season 4. So I feel like, because that's going to be a huge sequence, the whole Shepherd and the false kings and everything. So I could see them like pushing that back to the start of season 4 and ending season 3 on the big Aemon Daemon battle.
I could see that too. I think season 3 would need to end on one of those two things, because it needs to end with something huge. I was thinking more. I was thinking some of the things you just listed, which I'm now already forgetting, they could condense or cut out and get to Aemon and Daemon a little sooner. And I think a big epic riot in King's Landing and the big dragon pit would be a great episode 9 or 10. But I can see it the other way. And I did admit in my video that does leave a lot to fill in between the only big event that then happens is the second battle of Tumble 10. So the show would have to fill in some things in order for that to work. So I could definitely see what you're saying could also be the way they go. I definitely wouldn't be surprised. I think what my thought processes is that what a great bookend it would be to end. Start season 3 with Rhaenyra having just taken the Iron Throne. End it with her leaving King's Landing. So like you end season 2 with her taking King's Landing. End season 3 with her running from King's Landing. So that was I think that just seemed logical to me, like good bookends.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I can also see it that there isn't a lot that doesn't leave a lot in season 4, so they could definitely. You could be right too.
Yeah, and I see your logic there too, and I think that would work as well. Yeah, it's just the misbalance. And the other thing is, I'm thinking that Daemon is such a huge character that they might want to keep him in the show as long as possible. So towards the end of season 3. And
in my timeline, it would still be kind of towards the end of the season.
Yeah, true. But and speaking of Daemon, I like the book. The Maesters writing it are pretty sure that he died fighting Aemon, but the rumors that he survived. I thought it might be interesting that the show showed him surviving and running off with Nettles.
I think they would have to build up to that. I think they could, as he's been betrayed so far, I think it would be out of character for him to run away from war and run away from his family. He's been very loyal to his family. But if they really build up the Daemon and Nettles thing between now and then and make it believable that he would do such a thing, then I could buy it. But right now, I couldn't see the show Daemon doing that.
All right. So the way I think the show can make it work is play on Rhaenyra's betrayal of her as sending a letter to execute Nettles. That will really hit him hard and be like, how the fuck could she do this to me? I don't care about her anymore. Fuck this shit, and I'm out of here. I just got to kill Aemon before I go.
Yeah, I could see that. I can also. I know you've said, Mark, that you think that they're going to make Rhaenyra and Alicent more. What was the word we used earlier?
Ruthless.
Ruthless. Yeah. I'm not convinced they are. I think the show wants Rhaenyra to be kind of a hero, so I don't. So, I'm not. I could see it going either way, but I'm not 100% convinced that she is going to ask for Nettle's execution in the show.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because it did seem like a mighty character change from the way she's portrayed in the show, the way she acts in the book, being all super paranoid and everyone's out to get me just because those two people betray. She instantly wants to kill off the Valerians and all bastards and saying all bastards are wrong. And but I could see them getting to a point where she does that, but they kind of downplay it from the book. That's not as exaggerated, that she's not as twisted, but especially after Jace dies, and if they do her Viserys getting abducted or whatever, that it's kind of like the Cersei thing. The more children she loses, the more insane she gets. I could see them doing that as well, but it would be hard for them to get to that point to where they have her now.
I can see a path for that. I'm not convinced they're going to yet, but we'll see.
I mean, listen, you know what? All of that is still better than the possibility of Daemon being this guy.
I can't see.
That's the Night King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen absolutely.
Yes. That's
yes.
We already know who the Night King is. We already saw who he was. He was the dude, the children of the
children of the forest.
Yeah. We've already seen him. I hate these stupid theories where people come up with things that have already been disproven. We've already seen who the Night King is.
Yeah. So
that makes no sense.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure part of the theory is, well, you know, since we saw carvings of the White Walkers on Dragonstone in the caves, then that means that the Targaryens can you know what? Please, for the love of the seven.
And the Night King is going to be Aegon the Conqueror, and he's played by Henry Cavill, because now that's the big thing, that Henry Cavill is going to be in Game of Thrones now because
he's quitting The Witcher.
Because he's quitting The Witcher, so he's going to be. So everyone's like, well, he's going to play Aegon the Conqueror. They're going to have flashbacks, and that's
you couldn't. It couldn't just be that they maybe signed him on for multiple appearances as Superman.
Yeah,
no,
There's got to be a greater conspiracy.
That's just wishful thinking. Like, people think, oh, he looks like a Targaryen in The Witcher, so let's just make him a Targaryen. But
all right. Okay, so now let me get into how I think season 4 would play out. So it would start with the madness in King's Landing, the death of the dragons, Rhaenyra flees, the moon of the three kings, Aegon second escape to Dragonstone, which again we already talked about that. You think they'll say that? That's fine. Second battle of Tumbleton, the Valerians, getting into them, his redemption arc, whatever. Rhaenyra's death. Aegon II retakes King's Landing. Baratheons loses battle at King's Road. The False Spring. The Hour of the Wolf. So I think that during that they're going to they could do kind of at the same time they're playing the madness of King's Landing and the Moon of the Three Kings. Maybe at the same time of the Moon of the Three Kings, they show the turmoil in Tumbleton and the build up to the second battle where what's his face Hugh the Hammer is like, I'm the king, make me the king, and all of discontent, and the High Tower is dead. And so I could see them doing that, like spreading that out and building up to it. But
I mean, I agree. I think that the show is probably going to wind up ending with the coronation of Aegon the Third. Um, you
Yes,
know,
definitely. I
and
agree.
the
It's going to be
coronation.
coronation and slash wedding, or at least announce that he's marrying. I think a coronation slash wedding.
Yeah,
So
I think they're gonna like flash forward to that and have
yeah,
like a narration that wraps things
yeah,
up. I think they need to have a narration that explains that like the dragons are all fucked
yeah,
and how they eventually die off because of this.
yeah, yeah.
That definitely makes sense.
So So, Mark, where do you think? Because you, in my video, I said like I just feel like they need to have Rhaenyra's death toward the end. So, do you think it's going to be more in the middle of the season, so they have time to go through all of the Aegon and the Hour of the Wolf and all of that?
So I agree with you that it's going to be towards the end of the season, but here's my exact thoughts. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking she dies at the end of episode 8. And
Uh huh.
then episode 9 is Aegon the Second, and we do like a Green Council type episode where we focus just on him, retaking King's Landing, and it's going to end with the Baratheons losing the battle, and it ends with him dying. And that's the end of episode 9. And episode 10 is the Hour of the Wolf, wrapping up everything.
Yeah. So you're not too far off the episode. I think the Hour of the Wolf has got to be a little condensed. Like, I
Yes,
don't
I
think you can
agree.
spend too much time on that because this is the Targaryen show, not the Stark show. I just feel like Rhaenyra. I think episode 8 is a good time for her to die, and then you have 2 episodes to do all the other stuff. Because I don't. I think if she died any sooner than that, like she dies in episode 5, I think the show watchers are going to be like, "What is the point of this show
Yeah,
anymore?"
no, I agree. Yeah.
Like this is it's just like 5 episodes of epilogue. So yeah, I could see that. I also think that the Hour of the Wolf may be a little downplayed because in the book that's kind of like the only thing Kragan Stark does, and I do think that they are going to build him up more on the show. He's going to do more things.
I'm actually thinking, I'm open to the possibility that he's actually going to be at the Battle of the King's Road, which he
I
wasn't.
think that I thought of that too. I think they would be better off having him get there a little sooner and not just have him
Yes.
come in
Yeah.
like after it's all over. But yeah, I think that that's a possibility too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because even if they play him up more in the show, would seem like he's coming out of nowhere, that all of a sudden he takes over and becomes the star in the last episode. I think they need
Yeah,
to build him more.
yeah,
yeah, and plus, everyone wants to see the Winter Wolves. We,
Yes.
we want to see these hardened Northmen that are just like, yeah, I'm not going back home. So it's fight, fight and live, and take over your shit once we're done, or fight and die. And hey, we still did a good job anyway because we kind of came here to die to begin with. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. With the whole Hour of the Wolf thing, but I don't know that they're gonna do too much more with I don't know that they're gonna do too much more with Cregan because like they've went out of their way to focus this show on the Targaryens to the point where like if you had never if you had never watched Game of Thrones, you would never miss any of the other houses that we get in Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, you get introduced to so many different houses that it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, can we pull back for a sec because I'm not even sure who's with whom at this point, especially because they sucked at doing the costumes and heraldry. But that's beside the point. Right now, even in the show, yeah, in the show that we've had so far, I mean, we've gotten for the most part the Targaryens, the Valarians, the High Towers, and then sprinkling here and there of Lannisters just to show, like, yeah, Lannisters have been douchebags for hundreds of years. Mark, you're on mute.
But it didn't say I was on mute. Okay, so Don, I got one thing to say to you, and that is Aegon's prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire. The show loves to drop Game of Thrones Easter eggs, and I'm sure they'll love to have Starks involved.
Yeah, I agree with Don, though. They can't do him too much. I think he will be in it more than he was in the book.
Yeah,
but you can't over focus on him because this is the Targaryen show, and as Brandon says in the chat, which is what I've been saying, Game of Thrones was the Stark show. This isn't the Stark show, so you can't overdo it. But I still think you can have him a little bit more than he was in the book, and I think that they will.
Well, so the one thing you said in your video, Alyssa, I disagree with, that the Hour of the Wolf would be like 15 minutes. I think it's going to be at least one episode.
I mean, I could, if one episode would be fine. Like, I think they could really, really condense it, though. Like, I think it'll be really
yes,
condensed.
I agree. Like you were talking about
I feel like what he does is basically like, no, the war's not over. Oh, it is. Oh, okay, never mind. Well, we still got to kill these guys. We still got to kill them. But like, as soon as the three widows, like, all, you know, they all like, what's the word I'm looking for? Concede. Then it's like everything the Craig Stark was fighting for just kind of is pointless. Yeah. So I don't think that they can really build that up too much. It's like, I think they have to downplay that a little bit because it just seemed, even me reading it, it just seemed a little bit like, oh yeah, making a big deal. Oh, the war's not over yet. Oh, I guess it is. Never mind. Okay.
Oh, so Brandon puts it nicely. The Hour of the Wolf should be an hour-long episode. There we go.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be the title of the finale, The Hour of the Wolf.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. But I also think that he will, because I think in your video you said you didn't think that he would try to kill the people who killed Aegon the second, but I think he will.
Well, no, but I said.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, what I said is that his reasoning might be different.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But
I still try. I think Larys is going to be killed no matter what.
Oh yeah. But I think he's going to try to kill Corlys, and I think that's going to be the main conflict of this episode. Is Bella and whatever their
Rhaena and Bella.
Yeah, are gonna be there, like sticking up and trying to free him or whatever, and eventually it's gonna win. I don't know if they're gonna do the storyline with him falling in love with that one woman who convinces him. If they super condense it, maybe, but it does seem again like too much. Yeah. I would like it better if it was the granddaughters that just convinced him to let Corlys go.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely get that. Listen, at the end of the day, I think, Mark, you got it perfect. Rhaenyra dies end of episode 8. Aegon dies end of episode 9. And I think episode 10 starts off like how it did with Viserys with the Green Council scene, basically, where I think it's going to start off with, the bells tolling. They're going to find out the king is dead. Cregan Stark just arrived, and he's just going to be like, listen, I know I didn't like him, but yeah, this is some bullshit. So round up everybody. Let's have a trial.
Yeah.
I think, regardless of the reasoning, I think it's going to be more focused on the rounding up of the people, Larys and Corlys, rather than him saying, no, we got to still go fight this war. Like, we got to take care of the Lannisters and all this other stuff. I think that part would be greatly condensed if it exists at all. I think the focus would be more on the rounding up of Larys and Corlys and all that stuff.
I agree. I think they will mention it. I think he'll still say it, but it's going to be sort of resolved more quickly, and they'll get the letters back and be like, "No, that's not going to happen." And like, fine, whatever.
Yeah. And I do. Before we end up leaving, I do have to say the same thing that I said in my video. Watching that episode 8 of this season, I was just biting my tongue I'm just watching this scene and when they're all trying to decide who's going to succeed Corliss, and I'm sitting there going, "You all motherfuckers are dying way before Corliss. Like you're going to be dead before Corliss. You're going to be dead before Corliss. You're going to be dead before Corliss." Like the only people in that room who are still alive at the end with Corliss are Bela and Reyna and Alicent. Like everybody's like, "Oh, well, will Luke succeed?" And Luke dies way before Corliss. So it's like watching that scene. Don't these people know they're all going to be dead before Corliss?
That is the great irony of that episode.
Unless you think Damon ran off with Nettles, maybe he will still be alive. But as far as anyone knows, they're all dead.
Yeah. Oh God, I thought I had one. Oh yeah, one last point is I want to see, like in the book, they try to play it off as, oh, who killed Aegon II, and eventually, Kragan finds out it was Larys conspiring with Corliss, but come on, we know it's Larys. I want to see Larys like go to Corliss and do his, I think perhaps our young king could meet, do his like thing, and I can see like Corliss doing it because he wants to save the realm, and that will be the big defense that his granddaughter's making his defense, saying, look, he saved tons of lives by doing this. And I also like the thing about everyone being like, oh, I want to go to the wall. Like one person says it's like, wait, I want to go to the wall too. And they all go to the wall except for Larys. It's like, no, I'd rather burn in a hotter hell. So go ahead and kill me.
Who was the guy who didn't like escaped and ran off or something and like didn't go to the wall?
Oh, was there someone?
I thought there was someone who like said they were going to the wall and then they're like,
"Oh,
I'm not going to the wall."
Oh, I didn't hear about. I didn't read that part.
That was in the book. Like it was. Yeah. I think it was some. I think it might have been some minor character or something.
Okay, I don't remember that. I remember one of the Kingsguard also decided to just die. He didn't want to go. But yeah. Having Larys die at the end, I think, would be very satisfying.
No, I think,
especially if they actually do the thing we asked them to do. About
chop off his foot. Yeah,
yeah.
Lord Foot Fetish himself.
Lord Foot Fetish.
Okay, so Brandon confirmed. Like, I never doubted Alyssa actually that there was a guy. I just missed that part. But yeah, Brandon confirms that that did happen, but can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I think it was some like minor, like nobody character. Like probably won't even be in the show. But
I don't think the show would touch on that. And I think the show's definitely going to condense a lot of these like river lords and lads and shit like that. That's why I was thinking maybe they could have the Westerling dude fill in, because they have like the Battle of the God's Eye. You mentioned this in your video, Alyssa. Like, there's no main characters there. So I think they're going to gloss over this battle and just talk about it off screen, or we're going to need some main characters there.
I think they should do it, but there needs to be main characters there. But I don't think you can. I don't think you can condense or replace Elmo, Oscar, Kermit. Like, you gotta have all the Sesame Street people in there.
Grover's already mentioned,
Grover's already been mentioned.
Kermit he's more of a Muppets guy, right? Is that the same?
Well, he was on Sesame Street too.
He was? Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was on both. He was the one that did both.
Listen, it's all Jim Henson creatures. So.
Yeah. But I don't know. And then the people on the show are going to think the same thing I was thinking. Was George R. R. Martin staying up late, getting high, and watching Sesame Street? Like, why does he name and the Tollies in particular? That's so.
Oh, you know what? And to sort of wrap up this discussion and end things out, the other thing I was going to mention is I watched an interview with George R. R. Martin recently, and he said that it was decided in 2016 which I can't remember what season of Game of Thrones. It was like season 6 or something. But he said that's when HBO went to him and was like, we want some spinoffs, pitch us some spinoffs. So he pitched Duncan Egg, which HBO rejected. So I guess I was wrong thinking George R. R. Martin didn't want it. And the other one he picked was The Dance of Dragons, in which they said, yeah, we'll go with that one. And so then he wrote Fire and Blood. He was like, well, if they're going to base the whole show off this, I should get into more detail. And then went and wrote Fire and Blood after realizing it was going to be adapted into a show.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting.
He said he decided he had to write it as a history book, though, because if he tried to write it as a straight-out novel, it would take like 10 novels, and he didn't have time to write 10 novels.
Yeah,
So,
I think most people thought the same thing when Fire and the Blood came out. This is great, but where the fuck is Winter?
I remember
time to write this.
That's why I didn't buy it. It was out of protest because I was like, what the fuck is this? Where's Winter? But you know what? After 12 years, it's 75% done. Let's be excited over that. It took him 12 years to do 75.
Well, listen, you know what? George is from New Jersey, and if you know anything about people from New Jersey, they don't die until they're into their 90s. So he'll, we'll eventually get The Winds of Winter and The Dream of Spring. George will just be, about 84 by the time he's finished with both of them.
One of my favorite things is like when there's this quote of him in his interview where he talked about how people were talking about him dying and how that's pissing him off. He's like, I'm like, fuck you. And I love how all these YouTubers love using that as a thumbnail to anything about George R. R. Martin. They show him giving the middle finger. They just picked up with that picture and went with it. All right. So let's any final thoughts before we head off, before hit the old road.
Just one little thing that I wanted to touch on from season 2 that we didn't touch on is that Sir, I think Stefan Darklin, he was one of the 2 Kingsguard. In the book he does what Eric does.
Yes.
But in the show he was one of the 2 guys that Daemon threatened with the dragon. I wonder if they're going to keep that. He's one of the dragon season who gets killed trying to tame a dragon. So they did introduce him. So I'm like, oh, that guy's going to get killed trying to tame a dragon.
And he was minor enough where I could see them doing that. Just some minor guy. I was like, oh, I'll try to tame this dragon.
Which would be, I think would be ironic because Daemon threatened to kill him with the dragon. He's going anyway. Yeah, just wanted to throw that in there because I was going to mention that before, and we just didn't get to slip that in. And that's it. That's all I had.
All right. Cool. So we'll go ahead and end this discussion here. I want to thank everyone for joining. Brandon, Joseph, and my mouse isn't working, but I'm sure there was more people in the chat earlier. Thank you all for joining the discussion. I've got Mr. W and a few other people popped in, and anyone who maybe didn't comment in the chat and just watching us, thank you so much for watching. And anyone watching this in the archives, thanks so much for watching. And all that sort of jazz. And of course, huge thanks to my guests this way. So Alyssa, if you want to tell people where you're at, what's going on, where they can find you, what are you doing these days?
Well, mostly Star Trek right now. You can find me over on Alyssa Jean's reviews and my big plans. Well, first of all, you should watch the videos I already have. I did my own book club spoilers video on House of the Dragon, which you should watch. You should also watch my predictions and my predictions review that I did earlier in the season. But as far as what is coming up, a lot of Star Trek. I've got top 10 worst and then the top 10 best holodeck episodes in Star Trek coming up. And then my most overrated and underrated Star Trek episodes coming up in November. So check that out and check out all the stuff that I've done already. So come on over to Alyssa Jean's reviews.
All right. And Don, thank you so much for joining for this. It's great to have your book knowledge here. What are you up to? can people find you?
Firstly, thank you for having me. As always, always a lovely time being here with you two. Um, so yeah, trying to work on doing a House of the Dragon season one wrap up extravaganza with Hype's Watch and some other special guests. I forgot I got to go out of town this weekend, so it's not going to happen this weekend. Hopefully, next weekend we'll be able to do something. So, yeah, stay posted, or keep you posted. Check out the Hype's Watch channel. You can also find me doing some new videos very soon at Adon of Ice and Fire. Yeah, but other than that, you can find me wherever I'm guesting, either Champion of Eternity, Alyssa Jean's reviews, D's reviews, or whoever else wants to have me on. All right. Yeah, and again, thank you very much for having me, and Valador Harris.
Cool. And if you are finding me for the first time, my name is Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. I too am pretty much wrapped up with House of the Dragon. This is sort of the last one I'm doing for a while. Who knows? Maybe I'll do another random House of the Dragon. A long wait to season 2. But I just released my House of the Dragon season 1 video today. So if you haven't seen that, you should check that out, where I sum up my thoughts on season 1 in a non-spoilery fashion. Like Alyssa, I'm going to focus more on Star Trek now, covering Star Trek Prodigy. I'm going back and doing every episode of the original series that I've yet to do. The original series, anyway. And like Alyssa, I too am going to release a top 10 overrated and underrated Star Trek episodes. My top 10 overrated should come out, I believe, next week. But my underrated is not going to come out for another month, so I'm spacing them apart more. And then I got other random Star Trek top 10s coming as well. So I think I'm probably going to take a break from these live discussions for a while until another good show starts to air. So thanks for joining. It's good seeing everyone, and we will see you next time. Clever thingy here.
Damn, now's